What is going on? I am Janik and welcome to Foam Rolling 101. In the next few minutes, you're gonna follow along with me as I demonstrate how to use a foam roller and a few other lacrosse balls and golf balls to really get the most out of your myofascial release. So, first thing we're gonna do here is actually we're gonna take our shoes off if we have our shoes on. Okay, whenever we're doing our warm-ups and anything that's not a plyometric exercise, it's nice to have our shoes off to get a more rich environment from our feet from the floor. Gives us a lot of good feedback, okay? This is what a usual foam roller that most of you will have will look like. Some of them are a bit longer. Doesn't really make a difference with the length of them. It's more about the density. So a dense foam roller is gonna be pretty effective. What we're gonna do is start on our glutes here. So we're gonna hit the foam roller right on our butt, and we're just gonna use an up and down motion to start to scan our glute. So when it comes to foam rolling, we're always using an up and down motion on whatever muscle group we're targeting first. We use this up and down motion again to scan the muscle. As we're doing this, we're trying to stay nice and relaxed and just try to get a feel for like where that muscle originates, where it inserts to. Once we've scanned a certain muscle group with up and down motion, we can use a side-to-side crisscross method to start to break down the muscle even more. Okay, and we're gonna see this with almost every single foam roll, every single area that we're gonna foam roll. We use our up and down motion to scan the muscle and a side-to-side motion to start actually attacking some of that muscle and getting some of that release that we talk about, okay? When I'm doing my glute here, I can also cross my leg over to expose more glute and then start to rock back and forth from here. I know that like this probably looks funny. You're just kind of shifting on a foam roller, but once you get a hang of it, it is super, super effective. So we're gonna stay on our left glute for another 5 seconds. Chopping it up and down. And 3, 2, 1, we're gonna switch. So we're gonna take our foam roller and now we're gonna place it under our other glute. We're gonna use our up and down method to scan the glute. See where it's tight. We're gonna find different bands. You'll probably find a tight band along your glute med there. And this is something that we can pay some attention to with the foam roller. So our up and downs, our sides to sides, and our scan. Now again, the whole reason we're foam rolling is to get a passive reaction from our muscle. So it kind of releases the muscle tone, which in effect gives us a more glidey sensation when we start to train, when we start to move. Is this going to fix your hip problem? No, it's absolutely not, but it's one part of the system that we use to start to address dysfunctions, imbalances, tightness, okay? Or even soreness. So we're still scanning up and down, we're using our side to sides. Now, when we're doing our glutes, it usually feels really good to do our glutes. Other muscle groups don't feel so good. So let's move on to one of those muscle groups right now. So glutes are all done. Let's take a look at our rectus femoris and our quadricep glute muscles, okay? So we can just think about tight stuff and try to find tight lines. So what we're gonna do is get down into a plank position on the foam roller. Now, I want the foam roller to be right in the middle of my quad to start. When I'm doing this position here, I cannot let my lower spine round into the floor. So I can't be here. I need to keep a little bit of a plank position as I let that foam roller just rest. Let's do 10 seconds, just staying in this one spot, breathing. I know that I'm in a good position if my foot is not contracted. I can't have my back foot contracted like this. I need to have it nice and relaxed, melting into the foam roller. You can feel probably now a little bit of pain, all right? But we're breathing, we're relaxing, and we're trying to get to that next level of release from our breath. Again, once the foam roller is melted into the quad, we can start to apply our up and down motion to start to, again, scan that muscle group for tight spots. Once we've found a tight spot, we can start to apply our side-to-side pressure, okay? And now if you have a really tight rectus femoris like I do, you're gonna feel that muscle kind of bounce over the foam roller side to side, okay? And again, we're staying as relaxed as possible. You'll notice my foot is still in a relaxed position. as I scan that muscle, and I use my side-to-side motion to start attacking it. Now, again, if this is your first time foam rolling, it might take you 30, 40 seconds just to let that foam roller melt in, okay? And that's completely fine. For your first couple times, just breathing is gonna be maybe all you can do, and a little bit of up and down motion. As you get better at these motions and get more used to the pain, we can start to add a little bit of like auxiliary movement from the joint to start to break down the muscle even more. So now you can see I'm bringing my heel to my butt. I'm still staying nice and relaxed with the quad as I go back and forth along this muscle group. Moreover, I can bring the heel up to my butt and I can start to apply my crisscross motion with a changed base position essentially. So now with my foot up, I'm getting a different sensation. I'm getting a bit deeper into the tissue and I'm really feeling that muscle impacted by the foam roller, okay? Let's switch legs here and now let's go through the whole system a little bit faster. So we're gonna find our foam roller, the middle of our quad. In this position here, we're gonna make sure that we have a flexed spine and that our core is not off, causing our spine to dip into extension. From this position here, I'm just gonna breathe. 3 breaths. Foam roller's melting in right now. 2 and 1. Now that it's melted in, I can use a slight up and down motion to start to scan. If I'm tight on the hip flexor, I can start to scan that. If I'm tighter on the more lateral side of my hip, I can start to scan that as well. So now I'm moving up and down. Once I've found that tight spot, I can start to use my side-to-side motion. Again, I'm staying relaxed. This really hurts right now, but I've done this a few times, so I'm used to the sensation. Now we're using that side-to-side motion to chop up that muscle a little bit more. Again, once we've used that side-to-side on that one tight spot, if that's not enough, we can start to bend the heel to the butt and flex back. Flex and extend, staying nice and relaxed, letting the foam roller dip in. And then we can go side to side to side to side, okay? And along the course of this video, if anything's feeling really good, or if you feel like you need a couple more breaths in a certain position, pause the video, take your time to just melt into the foam roller, okay? We've now got our glutes, we've got our quads. Let's talk about tight hamstrings. All right, when it comes to foam rolling our hamstrings, the usual up and down motion that we've used on the other body parts just isn't gonna cut it. So we need to start to apply that side to side motion. And I wanna think of my hamstring as a big piece of meat that I'm just trying to tenderize and get moving, okay? So let's take the foam roller, let's place it right in the middle of that hamstring, and right away, let's start to apply that side to side motion. As we scan from the top of my hamstring, where it inserts into my glute, and all the way down. Now, a couple things to think about. If my foot is very flexed and has a lot of tension on it, I'm not gonna get good results from the foam roller. So I need to make sure my foot's nice and relaxed. As I start to tenderize that hamstring, I can start to turn my toe in and start to really chop a specific area if I feel it's tight. I can turn my foot out and get more on the lateral part. But all in all, I'm trying to just keep myself relaxed and just work through that hamstring. So let's just keep scanning for another 20 seconds here. Again, if you need to pause the video and something just feels really good and you just want to dig at it, please do so. That's the whole point of this video. So let's take the foam roller, let's get it under our other hamstring. Again, right away, we can use the up and down motion a bit, but it's not gonna do too much. So right away, we're gonna start to switch to that side to side motion. And again, if you've never done this before, it probably looks a little bit funny, but I promise if you're doing this right now with a relaxed foot, you are feeling its effectiveness, okay? And we're gonna scan for another 25 seconds here, turning my foot in if I need to, turning my foot out if I need to. If I need to take more time, pause the video, take more time, and just chop that hamstring up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Quickly, we are gonna take our foam roller and we're gonna just talk about our calves. We can, again, use our up and down motions to scan the muscle. I like to turn my foot in to scan medial and out to scan a little bit more lateral. And once I've found my tight spots, again, I'm gonna use that chopping motion to start attacking. Another thing to think about is if my shoulders and neck and traps are getting very tired from supporting myself, this is not efficient, obviously. So we need to find ways to create a better base position where we're not using so much chest, shoulder, or so much traps and neck, and more opening up the chest. So always think about putting your arms and upper body in a good position to support you. You need a strong base to dig more tension into the foam roller. Of course, if this is just our first time and this is feeling uncomfortable, just put less tension into your arms and put as much down as you can without getting anything to flare here. Again, up, downs, side to side, a little rolling wave where I go medial and then lateral, and then chop up as well. Okay, let's switch it up. Again, we're gonna start with our up downs. We're gonna scan that muscle. And this applies to every single muscle that we do. Use my up downs to scan. If I need to turn in, I can turn in. This is how you actually make foam rolling effective, right? Because a lot of people will say that foam rolling isn't effective. It doesn't do much. And I think that that's like a very irresponsible saying as a trainer, because we can see from, you know, the two main schools of thought we pull principles off of is going to be functional range conditioning and functional patterns. Now, very different styles of movement, right? One's about joints, one's about like myofascial slings. But like if you're doing the functional patterns 10-week course, that is like 4 weeks of nonstop SMR, which is self-myofascial release, which is what we're doing right now, right? So different schools of thought are gonna say different things about foam rolling. We can see from what we're doing right now in this video, the foam rolling does feel good. It is effective. And it's a great place to start your workout in, okay? It's how we start every workout. Every workout will start with a bit of foam rolling. We're done our calves, we're done our hamstrings, we're done our glutes, we're done our quads. Let's talk about the one that's probably the most important, is the T-spine. Now, when it comes to our spine, we want a mobile thoracic spine. We want a stable lumbar spine and a stable cervical spine. So we get lots of tension and tightness, especially if we're sitting at desks in the thoracic spine area, which causes rotation, flexion, all these different motions that we're gonna want to do with our shoulder joint and our upper body to become really difficult, to sometimes cause us pain, discomfort. If we're playing golf and we rotate and we don't have the capacity to rotate a certain way, this is when we start to get, you know, potentially life-changing, life-altering injuries where you're out for a few months, right? So thoracic spine mobility is one of the most important aspects of an athlete, of a human. So let's quickly talk about how can we use a foam roller to help us gain a little bit of thoracic mobility. Now there's tons of ways, but let's talk about what we've been doing, which is our up, downs, and side-to-side motions. So again, I'm not looking to foam roll my lumbar here. I'm not looking to foam roll my cervicals either. I'm looking for just purely thoracic spine. So what I'm gonna do is place my feet on the floor, place the foam roller somewhere along your middle back, okay? Right away, fingertips are gonna interlock behind my head. So I have cervical support, so my neck's not moving around all the place, okay? Your neck should never hurt when you're foam rolling your mid-back. I have my hand supported. I'm gonna do my slight bridge, and I'm just gonna use my up and down to scan my back from where my T12 is up into my T1, okay? If my elbows are crunched forward, I know that I'm not relaxing. So I need to open my elbows back, go from T1 to T12. And we're keeping your elbows back, cervical supported, using our up and down motions to scan. Now, when we're doing this, again, we need a little bit of glute strength, a little bit of hamstring strength to keep us up here, but it shouldn't be too hard. Now, elbows are still open. I'm still using my up and downs. I'm going to switch to my side to side, which looks comical almost. But this is a very good way to start to scan those tight muscle groups that get super tight, super, like, I want to say almost deactive from sitting all day. We want to start to give those guys a little bit of love with this weird side to side fish motion. Again, the number one thing is I'm relaxed. If I'm tense and tight, you can see I'm not doing too much. Elbows gotta be back, gotta be open. And now I'm getting that parasympathetic effect out of my muscle tissue. And that is exactly what I want. So, in about 5 seconds, we can stop our up and downs and side to sides. and we can take a little break, okay? So let's do one more thing on the T-spine foam roller because it just feels good. Now you can do this for, again, pause the video, do it for a minute. Let's get a little bit of segmental extension from our spine. Fingertips are supporting. Put the foam roller somewhere where you feel tight, and you're just gonna open into extension very slowly, just over the foam roller. So none of the vertebrae below the foam roller are gonna move. Just where the foam roller is gonna start to break. I'm gonna keep my ribs down, but don't let my ribs flare so my lower back extends. I'm just gonna let that foam roller extend me back. Elbows coming back. Okay, once I feel like I might lose my core, with tension go to my lumbar, I'm gonna use my core to slowly flex about the vertebrae that are on the foam roller, and come back up. One more time, extend, make sure the ribs stay down, elbows leading you backwards. Once you feel a good stretch, you can hold here and breathe as well. Use that foam roller to open up. You can see I get like a couple degrees out of my spine as we go here, okay? Again, something to just pause the video and experiment by yourself. But we're gonna be doing foam rolling literally every workout. So we can kind of try that out almost every single workout. So we have our up and downs, our side to sides for our T-spine as well. Let's quickly talk about two more things. So sometimes when I have a very tight spot, think of this as the macro. This is for macro usage. It's doing big muscle groups. Again, it's used to kind of feel out where muscles are tight. Think of this as the micro. Now we can start to really dig into certain spots that are really tight. So, of course, if we're doing online coaching, you will know these spots and we will have talked about them. But just in general, let's talk about a couple of good spots to put a lacrosse ball. So, on the side glute here, where my glute med is, sometimes that gets really tight. Instead of using a foam roller, I can plug that lacrosse ball right in there, cross my leg over, and again, use my up and downs, and my side to sides, and my breathing and my tension to just slowly start to melt in there, okay? We always have that kind of systematic approach. Breathing, melting, up and downs, side to sides, right? So glute med is a good spot. If I get really tight spots in my shoulder blades, we can get a ball, we can put it in that spot, and do some systematic breathing to kind of try to light up that spot a little bit more, try to breathe where the ball is if we feel that tight spot. Okay, so there's lots of things that we can do to get more into the micro when we have a lacrosse ball. The last thing, and this comes down to, like, if you've been following my brand for a while, you know we're all about functional movement. This is one of the biggest game changers. And if you've never done this before, this is like absolutely something that you'll never feel this feeling more than once, okay? So I'm gonna leave this as a separate video as well, but we're gonna do this kind of ball release as well for our foot. So soft tissue release for the foot. We're gonna take our sock off. Well, I'm gonna take my sock off. You can keep your sock on. So we are going to systematically release the foot here. So all the lines of, like the functional lines that Thomas Myers talks about, they all connect under the foot. So sometimes releasing the foot can have crazy effects up the body. Are you gonna have crazy effects up the body? I'm not too sure, but we know that the foot needs to invert and evert, or supinate and pronate, right? If we have a foot that's very tight, that doesn't really accept motion from the floor, like it's just not, it's like having a stiff hand. If I have a stiff hand, I don't get as much sensation when I grab like Jell-O, for example, right? The same thing with our foot. We want to create a sensory-rich environment for our foot so we can like essentially obtain more information from the floor, obtain more information from our movement, and this is super important. So we're gonna start with a golf ball, and we're gonna do like a whole 5-minute thing here. You don't need to do this every single time, the whole procedure, but for this time we are gonna do it. So I'm gonna systematically start to bring this ball from like my toe, under my toe here. I'm gonna spend like a minute here letting the ball melt in, then a minute here, then a minute here, then a minute here, then a minute here. So we're gonna slowly run down that spot of the foot, okay? Then we're gonna do another layer all the way across the foot, okay? So once we've broken up this soft pad of the foot, we're never gonna roll the heel of the foot. We're gonna leave that. We want that nice and rough. We want this soft pad to be released. Once we've released that soft pad, we're gonna start to find little spots on our arches that are tight, and we're gonna start to melt into those, okay? So I'm grabbing my ball here. I'm going to get my toe pretty much like it's still touching my toe. I'm gonna get my foot to like melt over the ball just like that. I'll come off the bump here. So my foot's melting into the ball. It's just kind of under my big toe. I want to octopus over that ball. And I'm just gonna breathe and chill here. We're not gonna do a full minute here, but we're gonna do a full like 20, 30 seconds as we melt into that ball. Now, of course, this is gonna hurt. You wanna keep your legs both straight, no bend in the knees, pushing some weight into there. Now, of course, don't go so hard that it like bruises you, but you want it to melt in a little, quite deep. We're gonna move under to the second toe now. And we're gonna let that ball just melt into that spot, staying nice and tall, applying that pressure. And again, it's probably not gonna feel like the best thing in the world, but breathing to get through it. And let's slide under the third toe now, okay? Now again, you can pause the video. If there's a spot that feels really good and you want to melt in there, just please go ahead and melt in there, okay? Breathing, straight legs. We're gonna bring that ball under our fourth toe now. We're gonna melt that in. And you're gonna start to feel like, man, I didn't know that my feet were so tight in those different spots. And we're gonna let that ball melt over our fifth toe. Octopusing over again. This is not relaxed. Let's let it octopus right over there. Okay, another 10 seconds here. So usually we do one whole line very close to the toes and then like another whole line all the way down. For right now, for our follow along, we're gonna do just a few seconds. Let's get right on that fifth toe now. So I'm right on the outside there. For our demo, we're gonna spend about 20, 30 seconds in each position. You can spend longer if you want. Now we're going a few inches down from what we just did. We're gonna come to this line right here, and we're gonna slowly start to work our way down this way. So we have our ball on the foot again. Letting it melt. We'll throw some music on in the background so this isn't so boring, but again, some of this stuff isn't the most glamorous stuff in the world, you know? And if you've spent years wearing shoes, you have bunions, et cetera, from, you know, normal shoes, even the shoes that I wear, fashionable shoes, they're not good for your feet, because what most shoes do is they narrow out your toe box. So this starts to become more narrow. This is not good, because imagine if you did that to your hand. You put a glove on your hand that cinched your hand like that all the time. You're not gonna be able to spread it out and use your hands to their optimal ability, right? The same thing goes with our foot. So even if like you looked up like people like that don't use technology, like I don't know, some sort of more primary civilization that exists in the world, you'll see that their feet are like hands. They have like hands for feet. Again, right now we're under the third toe on our second line, releasing our foot, and now we're gonna bring it under the fourth toe. Okay, and we're melting again. So sorry, I'm rambling on here a little bit, but anyway, they have like hands for feet, and this is very functional, right? Especially if you're, you know, out in the wilderness, out in the trees, et cetera, et cetera. Again, are we gonna make our hands feet? No, but we definitely wanna get a good amount of release and usage from them. We are now on our second layer under our fifth toe, letting that golf ball melt in, breathing with straight legs. In about 20, 30, or in about 10 seconds here, we're gonna stop with the soft pad, right? We can say, okay, we've busted up the first soft pad here, good enough. Now we're gonna use lines from pretty much the soft pad in line with the toe. We're gonna use lines to come up and down the foot. And we can do about 10 of these up and down. Again, this should hurt quite a bit, but let it dig in. And this is incredibly systematic, what we're doing right now. right under the first toe, we're right under the big toe. We're gonna move under the second toe, and we're gonna apply straight lines up and down. No matter where your foot wants the ball to rotate, try to keep it in that straight line under your second toe. We'll get about 4 more up and downs. Be patient here and accept the pain. Now again, if you're doing these up and lines, you're doing these lines and you find a really tight spot you want to melt in there, go ahead and melt in there. We're moving under the third toe. And we'll go up and down, and up and down, up and down, okay? Under the fourth toe, up and down, and up and down. Again, letting that foot relax, keeping the knee not locked out, but not bent, okay? And then we're under the fifth toe now, up and down, and up and down, and up and down, about 5 more. So you can see we have a systematic approach. I'm not gonna, for this video, I'm not gonna do the whole other foot with you. You can kind of just, throw on a song and spend 10 minutes watching TV and doing that. That's something you can definitely do. But the system is break up different spots under each toe on the first layer of your fat pad. Break up each foot under the second layer. Use lines from the fat pad down to the hard heel here. 10 lines, 10 lines, 10 lines, 10 lines, all the way down to your fifth toe. Once you're done this and you put your foot on the floor, you're gonna feel like it has a lot more, it's gaining more information. It knows how to go in and out a little bit more. And then this is just a good spot to start to work and start to build. And when we talk about feet, we always talk about our big toe, our pinky toe, and our heel, making that tripod foot for us. So when we have this tripod foot, this arch supports the leg and it's gonna help, keep the knee in good alignment, keep the hip in good alignment. When my foot starts to do this and I don't have the ability to evert is when we get that knee valgus, right? And sometimes that's a glute problem, but things can start with the feet and move up the chain, just as things can start up the chain and move down to the feet. So to recap here, guys, we're just finishing foam rolling 101 here. We talked about the macro with our big version foam roller and how we use up and down motions to scan the muscle groups and side to side to get a really good effect out of the foam roller. We talked about the micro, using lacrosse balls and golf balls to get into the feet, to get into the glute med, to get into tight spots in our back, okay? Foam rolling is essential. We will do it every single workout because we're gonna be sore, we're gonna be beat up from the other day before, so we're gonna use it as a means of recovery, as a means of sussing out our body. And I really hope you enjoyed that foam rolling section. Use it.